Coming up on today's show, should the Seahawks trade for DeForest Buckner? We'll dive into some major Seahawks rumors on that front. Meanwhile, another possible trade target, Chauncey Golston of the Dallas Cowboys. We'll examine that possibility. And what about the future of quarterback Holton Ahlers on the Seahawks depth chart? Will he make the 53-man roster? We will dissect it coming up in just a moment. But first, let's start with DeForest Buckner. As 12th Man Rising, the Seahawks fan-sided site, is proposing that the Seahawks make a trade for the Colts defensive tackle. And before we dive in and show you exactly what they had to say, think about this as far as the situation goes. The Indianapolis Colts are in complete rebuild mode. They're starting over. DeForest Buckner, he's in the prime of his career. You would have to think that he's got to be thinking about other options, and the Seahawks have an obvious need when it comes to the interior of the defensive line and looking for pass rushers. More of that in just a second. First, though, let's hear from 12th Man Rising about this possibility. The Seahawks can make a trade with the Colts and then sign Buckner to a 1 or 2 year extension. This would lock Buckner in Seattle for 2 to 4 years, likely the rest of his prime years. This extension would also allow the Seahawks to lower their current cap number, much like they did with Nwosu. The Seahawks acquire a blue-chip player at a position of great need, officially committing to their championship window opening while not blowing up their future draft picks. You look at the way this franchise has been reborn since trading Russell Wilson. DeForest Buckner is the final piece in this rapid and remarkable reload. Make this deal, Seattle, and you can get to the Super Bowl. Look, to put it simply, folks, the Seahawks are in win-now mode. And we've heard that from the general manager, John Schneider, this offseason. And what have I said about the Seattle Seahawks the last several weeks on this program? I've told you this. The Seahawks have positioned themselves to be a very good football team and one of the upper echelon teams in the NFC. But there's still another player away, in particular, another defensive lineman away from taking that next step from good to great. DeForest Buckner could exactly be just that. It's time to get aggressive and make this move if you're the Seattle Seahawks. Here's what you're getting potentially if you bring in DeForest Buckner. This guy is a 2016 first-round pick out of Oregon, so he's got ties to the Pacific Northwest. Traded to the Colts in 2020 after beginning his career with the San Francisco 49ers, a two-time Pro Bowler in 2018 and in 2021. And here's the stats. Here's what we're talking about here, folks. This past season, in 17 games played, had 8 sacks. That's about a sack every other game. 2 forced fumbles, 11 tackles for loss, 74 tackles the year prior, 7 sacks, 9.5 sacks in 2020, and 7.5 sacks in 2019. DeForest Buckner is incredible. He does everything that you can ask for. And one thing I want to note on that stat sheet that you're seeing on your screen right now, look at all those games played. DeForest Buckner not only puts up the production, but this is a guy that also has been available, that can be counted upon to be on the football field. Here's the trade idea that 12th Man Rising put together that I want to show you. The Seahawks receive DeForest Buckner, and they give up Noah Fant. And I know some Seahawks fans may not want to part with Noah Fant, and I can understand why you might not want to, but you still have Will Dissly, you still have Colby Parkinson, and then you give up a third-round pick as well, and you pay DeForest Buckner, and you get this deal done, you extend him, and that actually lowers your cap number. This can work if you're the Seahawks. It's time to be aggressive. Time to do something and make it happen. I'm all in. Sign me up. Bring DeForest Buckner to Seattle. What do you think? Should the Seahawks trade for DeForest Buckner or not? Y for yes, in for no. This is our pinned comment today. Let us know what you think. Should the Seahawks make the trade or not? Weigh in. Tell us in the comments section. The 12s, you delivered. We are now at a grand total of 39,000 subscribers here on the channel. You guys, I appreciate you. You made it happen. You're an incredible family, and we can't do this show without the 12s and for the significant impact they've made on this channel as we bring you daily news and rumors, our watch parties. We had a hell of a time on Thursday night. We're going to have a hell of a time again coming up this week when the Seahawks take on the Cowboys. Friend of the show, Tom Downey, and the Cowboys Report, we're doing a little sub-battle between our channel and their channel, and I want to stick it to them. Not only do we want to beat the Cowgirls on the football field, but we also want to beat them in this sub-battle as well to prove why the Seahawks have the best fans in the National Football League. Forget America's team. You got the Pacific Northwest team right here in the Seattle Seahawks. Subscribe now. Let's stick it to them and get this sub-battle going this week on the right note and take down the Cowboys report. Speaking of the Dallas Cowboys, Heavy.com is suggesting the Seahawks could be making a trade for Cowboys defensive end Chauncey Golston. Could we see him just change jerseys before the game starts on Saturday? Could that happen? Potentially. Here's more from Heavy.com. Considering Golston is due to earn just $1.3 million this season and $1.6 million next season, he may be the most viable option of the Cowboys' possible trade candidates considering his run defense abilities. With the Seahawks expecting to improve upon last season's playoff appearance, upgrading the interior of the defensive line with a cheap and efficient 25-year-old defensive lineman could be an absolute steal. Now, granted, it was a preseason game, so you obviously take it with a grain of salt. But what I saw from this Seahawks team on Thursday, the way they struggled to stop the run, it should have been a warning sign to everybody out there that this is still an issue. We all expect that the Seahawks should be better when it comes to run defense and what they're able to do with that front seven. There should be an improvement there. And granted, it was your second and third teamers and all that. But it still, to me, was a red flag of sorts. This team has to do something different. I understand maybe if you don't want to spend for DeForest Buckner. Even though I would love to have DeForest Buckner, I can understand why you might not want to. But Chauncey Golston, something. You got to do something if you're Seattle here. Here's a guy, Chauncey Golston, who was a former third-round pick. He's played in 30 games in the last 2 seasons. Hasn't had a start. But of the Cowboys' defensive linemen, of all the guys they could potentially move on from, this is somebody that's got a run defense grade of 61.3. That was the highest of all the defensive linemen on that Seattle Seahawks team, or on that Dallas Cowboys team. So not only would he fill a need and provide depth that you're looking for, but also on top of that, this is a guy that is as good as it gets from Dallas as far as run defense goes. The numbers for Golston. In 2021, 15 games played, had 32 tackles, 1 sack, 1 pass breakup, 4 QB hits. 2022 had 22 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 1 pass breakup, and 2 QB hits. So what do you think about this? Here is the trade proposal that yours truly has come up with. The Seahawks get Chauncey Golston, and they give up a 2024 6th-round pick. That's not asking too much. I think that's very reasonable. A 6th-round pick, and you get a quality rotational piece and provide depth and help that run defense. Sign me up. I like that idea. You could still even potentially bring in DeForest Buckner and still make this trade for Chauncey Golston. Look, I'm serious about going all in here. Think about the Philadelphia Eagles last year. That team, even when they had the best record in the NFC, they were still making moves as the season went along. You can't be content and be okay with what you have. John Schneider, Pete Carroll, they owe it to this fan base to go all in and do whatever it takes to put the best roster together to compete at a high level this year. Watch out. Should the Seahawks trade for Golston? What do you think? If they should make this trade, type T for trade. If not, type P for pass. Weigh in. Tell us what you think in the comment section. T for trade, P for pass. Let me know what you think one way or the other. Seahawks fans, we are selling sideline hats on sale now at chatsports.com/Seahawks hats. The other night when you were watching the Seahawks win, you may have noticed some of these hats that some of your favorite players, coaches, personnel were wearing on the sidelines. And we have all sorts of different versions. The flat bill, the throwback, which is my personal favorite, the ball cap style of the current logo, and many more. There's more options besides just the ones you're seeing on your screen now. And you can get any of them all in time for football season. At chatsports.com/Seahawks hats is where you can find these hats to get yours today. That's chatsports.com/Seahawks hats to get yours now. One final note before we go. The Athletic is projecting in their latest 53-man roster projection that the Seahawks will ultimately cut ties with undrafted free agent quarterback Holton Ahlers out of East Carolina. Here is what the Athletic had to say. There's no quarterback competition this time around. Smith is the starter, Locke his backup. Nothing will change between now and the start of the regular season. The Seahawks typically carry just 2 quarterbacks on the active roster and a third of the practice squad. For now, that third quarterback is undrafted rookie Ahlers, though Seattle could seek a new passer to carry on the practice squad during the regular season if Ahlers doesn't play well in the preseason. Now, don't get mad at Pete and John if they don't find a spot for Holton Ahlers. I know that he's become a fan favorite of sorts. I really liked what I saw from him in that preseason game, in particular in the zone read, bringing that element to the offense. I liked what I saw there. With that being said, I feel pretty good that he's still going to be around this organization in some way, shape, or form, whether it's on the practice squad, maybe they find a way to get him that emergency quarterback spot of some sorts. I'll tell you this right now. Maybe he doesn't earn the 53-man roster spot when the season begins, but I'm pretty sure Holton Ahlers is going to be around in one way or another. So don't get mad at John and Pete if they ultimately cut him and say bye. I think he's still around of some sorts, and if something were to happen to Geno Smith or to Drew Lock, then Holton Ahlers, you've kept him around this long. He knows the playbook and everything. You might as well go ahead and move him up to that number 2 quarterback if an injury were to happen. Here's the depth chart right now for the Seahawks. Geno Smith, of course, leading the way. We did not see Geno in the first preseason game. Drew Lock there and Holton Ahlers as well. We'll see how this goes, but it seems like, I think, for the Seahawks, a pretty easy decision to keep him around. Just doubt it's on the 53-man roster. Ahlers was undrafted in this April's draft out of East Carolina, but you look at the resume, pretty impressive what he was able to do in his time in college. He was the Birmingham Bowl MVP. He painted you a Birmingham. And then on top of that, he was also the MVP of the Hula Bowl in the NFLPA Collegiate Bowl as well. So he's had some nice performances to his name over the last several months as far as that goes. Weigh in, tell us in the comment section, should the Seahawks go ahead and cut Ahlers or keep him? What do you think? C for cut, K for keep. Tell us what you think in the comment section below. Hit me up on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Threads at Tyler Jones Live. You can find me there for more Seahawks coverage. And I'll see you next time right here on Seahawks Today.